Hello, sisters. Welcome to the Sacred Medicine Podcast, weaving powerful, soulful practices into functional medicine. Step into this beautiful space of devotion and explore everything from nurturing foods, rituals, sexuality, and awakening your innate sensuality. It is time to own your radiance. This is the Sacred Medicine Podcast. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Sacred Medicine Podcast. I am your host, Margaret Romero, and today's guest is Keryl Pesce. She is the author of Happy Bitch, the girlfriend's straight-up guide to losing the baggage and finding the fun, fabulous you inside. Oh my God, I just love that title. She's also the host of a live weekly talk show called Happy Hour on Mix 97.7 FM. She has been featured in the New York Times, Bloomberg Businessweek, the Huffington Post, Redbook Magazine, Cosmo, and Glamour. Today we are talking about how to be a happy bitch. Kind of sounds like me because I am. Though we don't talk about bitch in a derogatory way, actually. So you want to listen in to how she really defines it in her book. We'll learn all about her devastating story of her breakup of her marriage and how she really came out on top. I mean, from that, she has created this book. She has also launched a brand of her wine, which is really super, super awesome, which I can't wait to get my hands on. And is just in a relationship. She's married and super happy. And I just can't wait for you to hear how she overcame all of it and how she really came out on top. So listen in, and here's Keryl Pesce. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Sacred Medicine Podcast. I'm your host, Margaret Romero, and today's guest is Keryl Pesce, the author of Happy Bitch, the girlfriend's straight-up guide to losing the baggage and finding the fun, fabulous you inside. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Well, thank you, Margaret, so much for including me. I know that your work is deeply important to you, and I appreciate the fact that you have the confidence and faith to bring me on and put me in front of the people who respect and follow you.
Thank you so much. Well, I fell in love with the title of your book because just for so many reasons. Tell us why you wrote this book and why you titled it that.
Well, the book came out of, and this is what I want to talk with you and, of course, your listeners about, a really bad experience a number of years ago. I found out my ex was having an affair and I was completely devastated. And I can talk about some of my specific responses to that. But long story short, as I came out the other side of it and got myself to a happier place, I wanted to write a book for other women about what I learned. And it wasn't necessarily to be about divorce or somebody having an affair or cheating on you, but we are not going to get through this lifetime without some sort of significant challenge or challenges that we don't ask for or deserve. But we always get to choose what we do with that. And I wanted to write a book for women about how to deal with the challenges life hands us and live happier and create the life that you want. And I wanted to make it very fun and edgy and straight up. Like you and I are going out and having a glass of wine and talking girlfriend to girlfriend. There's so many fabulous books out there, self-help books, and I've read many of them. But content is fabulous, but delivery's dry. And I wanted something to be very fun and conversational.
Great.
And so the title, I knew I wanted to write a book about happiness. I knew I wanted it to be for women, and I knew I wanted to get attention. And the name just came to me one day. I think my initial title I had for it was Screw This Crap. and I was kind of like mocking up a cover. And then one day Happy Bitch came to me. I'm like, that's it. That's what I want to do.
So, what do you help women with in this book, particular? Like, what is a happy bitch exactly to you?
Well, to me, and I'll read. There's a paragraph from the introduction of the book that kind of
Oh,
defines what it's
great.
about for me. Yeah. So let's be done with the days of dismissively touting an unhappy woman as being a bitch as we go on our merry way. We are not bitches. We are amazing people who carry way more burden than we should and who are capable of moving mountains, showing kindness and love beyond compare, and kicking ass when we need to. Let's create a new revolution of today's woman. She's no longer a bitch. She's a happy bitch.
I love that. And I use the word bitch, not in a bad way, and I call a lot of my girlfriends kind of like
Exactly.
bitches,
Yeah.
in a good way, and they know that I mean well. Of course, they know I'm not meaning it in a derogatory way, and I don't find offense to it. And if people were to call me a bitch, I don't take offense to it. For me, that means a woman that's really standing in her power, or and is able to speak her mind. Because I think people may think of women who are empowered as being slightly bitchy.
That could be, but I totally, the intention, like it's coming from a place of love and respect and
Yes,
wanting to empower women. And of course, when somebody might ask me about bitch, I'm like, you call me all day long as you put happy in front of it.
that's true. That's true. That's a good way to put it. So tell me a little bit more about, we wanted to just talk about why this book was so important to you, and why it's going to help women to kind of get them to another level after something like this has happened to them, whether it's a boyfriend or husband has cheated on them. How did you get through it?
I need, honestly, Margaret, in the beginning, when I first, so here's how it went down. I was married. I was with him 11 years. I think maybe married for about half that time. I've always been a very faithful person. Even when I was younger in high school and dating, I wasn't the kind to go, cheating on one from the next. I don't need a piece of paper to make me loyal. It's just part of me. I take that seriously. If I don't want to be with you, I just won't be with you. I'm not going to, play around like that. So I wanted to be married once. I took my role as wife very seriously. I did everything I knew how to do to make him happy. To a fault. I lost myself for a bit there, and that's okay because everything teaches us somehow.
Yes.
So I walked up behind him when he was on the phone, and I heard him say, and I will never ever forget these words, "I don't care. I love you. I love you, baby, and I'm going to be with you." We'll never forget it.
Gosh.
Now, today, those words they're in my memory, Margaret, but the emotional charge is no longer
Right.
there.
Right. Right.
But at the time, I literally turned around and ran, and we were at this event and like fell to my knees and had to be picked up by friends. I was absolutely crushed.
Mm.
I was so scared. Like just everything, all these decisions, what's going to happen to me? What's going on? What did I do wrong? I internalized it all completely. So I was angry at him. I was angry at her. I was scared. I was feeling sorry for myself. But there was this voice in me that was like, this is not you, Keryl. Number one, this shell of you right now is not the true, real you. And number two, this is not going to define you. How you respond to this is going to define you. So I had the normal, I would say short compared to most people. It was really just a matter of a few weeks, maybe a month, where I was really emotional, really angry, all the normal stuff. But it was very early on that I realized staying there was not going to get me to a happier place. Number one, I needed to focus on what did I want now? What did I want my life to look like? And also, and this is my first main point I want to get across to people, was I had this awareness that hurting him back was not going to help me.
Mm-hmm.
And this is so often what happens when we're hurt by someone, particularly, another person. Our knee-jerk reaction is, well, screw you, you caused me pain. Let me figure out a way to get you back.
Right.
And even my well-meaning friends were Keryl, you know what I would do to get him back? I would do this. I would do that. I'm like, that doesn't make me feel any better. Yeah, he wronged me, but does punishing him, is that where I want to put my energy? So I said to him very early on, I said, look, and I had moved out. I was living with friends. I said, there's going to be enough pain and hurt in this. Anyway, let's not fight. And he said, okay. And we didn't. Now, there's many people that might look at that and think I chose the weaker approach, but there's no doubt in my mind that was choosing the position of power, that my chosen response to this and choosing to invest my energies in myself and where I wanted to get my life to versus how do I cause him pain. You will never, ever, ever advance the state of your own life and happiness by intentionally causing harm on another person. So fast forward a little bit. It's a few months down the road. And he said to me, we were on the phone, I don't remember why. And he said, his mistress, she doesn't like the fact that you and I don't fight. And he said, and I told her, if Keryl is as big a person as she is to not want to fight with me after what happened to her, I am not going to fight with her. And Margaret, I did a serious happy dance. Like, it was so empowering to know that he defended me to her and that I chose a higher road.
Yes. Wow.
Yeah. So that is one of, that's one of the main messages that I talk about in my book, Happy Bitch, and that I wanted your listeners to get today is you don't always get to choose what happens to you. You always get to choose how to respond to it. And when I chose to not stay angry and to forgive him, and it's not about making him feel better, it was about who's owning my power, who's got power over me. And when you stay angry and resentful at someone, you are giving your power away in a very big way, usually to somebody who doesn't deserve it. And that's why I believe so much in the power of forgiveness for your benefit.
How did you find the strength to do that? And how long did it take you to get to that place? That's a very, I think I find it very much easier said than done. Sometimes it's really hard to forgive someone that's wronged you in such a big, huge way. How did you do that? How were you able to do that?
Here's what I say to people, and here's what I did. Know what it is you ultimately want. And what you ultimately want isn't to hurt the other person. You ultimately want to be happy again, in whatever form that takes. You want to be happy. You want to feel good about your life. You want to live a good life. Is the response I'm going to choose here going to get me further or closer away from that? It's really very simple. So choose the response that's going to get me closer to what I want. So it started with me saying, I want to be happy again. I want to be married again. Where did I settle the first time that I now want to have a better relationship? I want a guy who cooks for me. I want a guy who calls me baby. I want a guy who talks highly of me, whether I'm in his presence or not, who shows me affection. I had none of that. And in retrospect, I was hanging on to familiar, not happy. And so I focused on what I really wanted. I know it's the basic stuff that we hear a lot, and that pain is very real and raw sometimes. And I would say, it was only a few months, because I remember it was 3 months to the day that my phone rang in my apartment. It was the midnight. It was like 10 o'clock at night before Thanksgiving, and it was him. And it was 3 months, and he was like, "It's Thanksgiving tomorrow," and he was basically, "I want you back. I want us back." And he was no longer what I wanted already.
Okay.
And it wasn't from it. And people were like, "Oh, that must have felt good." No, it wasn't gratifying. It was just the truth. I had enough separation and enough soul searching and enough what do I really want and answers to those questions that I realized he had set me free. He had done me a favor. So,
wow.
Yeah. And I think there's also an element of faith. Look, we cannot deny that there's an intelligence at work. Whatever form it takes for you is fine, whether it's God, the universe, Mother Nature, whatever you believe in. There is an intelligence at work beyond our comprehension. And it is in times when we are overwhelmed and weighted down by what's going on that feels unfair, that we feel unloved, or that we don't deserve this, that they're to grab onto that element of faith that everything has the capacity to serve you positively. And if you think about even I don't know your full backstory, but I am sure that you have suffered your own pain, your own difficult experiences that you have learned from and now allow you to do what you do even better.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I think we all have, and it's, but some of us don't see it that way. We see like,
Right.
oh, why do all these bad things keep happening? Or I can't believe this is happening to me. When maybe initially people, it's easy to think that way, but now I know when things come along, I'm like, okay, it's another lesson that I'm supposed to be learning here. Let me
Yeah,
find it.
yeah. Yeah,
And
the school of hard knocks, actually, absolutely. And that was one of the things that also wanted to talk to, and we're coming into this perfectly, is it's so I actually call this, and I'm writing a sequel right now to Happy Bitch, and it's going to be on power and confidence. And one of the things I talk about is my FAQ approach to the crap that happens to us, and it begins with forgiveness. And I walk people through a meditation to do that, and then it's forgive, and then ask new questions. FAQ, forgive this event, release the power it has over you, then begin to ask new questions. What shifted for me, not only choosing the higher road, was to stop asking, why me? What did I do to deserve this? Because believe me, I would go to bed every night with that. And it was horrible. And I got all the horrible answers. You're not good enough. You're not pretty enough. You should have done this. You should have done that. Until I started asking, what good can come from this? And this is what I say to your listeners and to you. What good can I create from this? Okay, this feels awful. This feels unfair. I wish it didn't happen. But you know what? I can't argue with reality. It did happen. What good can I create with this? None of what I have today. My marriage to the guy who calls me baby, who cooks for me, who speaks highly of me, is my reality. That being an author, I have a radio show, a new web video show. I own a wine brand. I'm talking with brilliant, loving people like you, like Kara, all because of if that didn't happen to me, I wouldn't have any of this.
exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Actually, by the way, I looked up your wine, your brand, and first of all, I need to buy the glasses. That's number one. The glasses say "Happy Bitch." It's
Yeah,
your logo from your book,
yeah.
which I love, and I was actually thinking about gifting it to a couple of my girlfriends,
Oh, fun.
and I was actually looking for the wine, but it's not near me, and so we have to
Where
talk
are
about that.
you?
Well, I'm in Connecticut, but I'm also
Okay.
bordering New York. And
Oh,
so
okay. So,
lower part of New York. This seemed
Brewster Wine and Liquor. I know you're gonna have listeners all over the world going, "Where's Brewster Wine and Liquor?" We have distribution in New York State.
right. And I saw upstate New York. I saw New Paltz. I all these towns that I know that are a few hours away. So Brewster may be the closest one. So the next time I'm in that area, which actually I have family that live sort of close by, I'm going to have to Google that and find it and buy
There
myself a
you go.
bottle.
They should have it. If not, they can get it for you. Yeah, any liquor store pretty much in New York State, Putnam County North. Um,
Oh, great.
so yeah, and that was another. So just to speak about that for a second, it's all about, okay, this happened. What good can I create from this? And then you don't have to have all of the answers. I knew I wanted to write a book, and that's where it started. And then what's the next thing? And then I asked, well, how can I expand this brand, this Happy Bitch brand? And what do women love? And how do we celebrate happiness? What do I love? And wine was the logical answer. Not a simple project, but so then I expanded into that to set the stage for women. Our tagline for the wine is pairs well with girlfriends and great memories.
I love
Yeah.
that. So good. So good. And so now your new book is it's really talking about forgiveness and sort of the next steps, which you've discovered since then. Now, so you're dating somebody new.
I'm married
Oh, you're
to a guy
married.
who's
Okay.
8 years younger than me. Go me.
Yes. Oh, okay. I love that. I love the younger too. So I get it. Um, and when did all this happen? What's
Well, the book has been out for about 5 years, the first Happy Bitch.
okay.
So I've been married about 12 years now to the new guy. So there was a time lapse between what happened to me and getting myself to a better place, getting happily married again, to then that reflection of I need to do something with this.
Okay.
So, and my next book, Happy Bitch, which will be book 2 about power and confidence, I'm hoping to be out by late summer. We're right in the heat of it. So, and that feels so good to be writing it, and the timing feels so right. And the stage for that, and maybe if it's okay with you, I can tell another story of what happened subsequent to me getting to a happy place again and starting in the self-help and happiness field. Is can we go there next?
Yeah, please.
Okay. Okay. So this is so weird what happened. So everything that I learned from what I went through, and sharing the messages that I learned, and getting myself to like great circumstances around me, living in a beautiful home, working from home, married to a wonderful guy who I love deeply. The wine business, my radio show, all of that.
So good.
And
yeah.
Yeah, so good. However, I became an obsessive student of self-help, personal development, law of attraction, happiness. Like my husband calls me a book whore. I mean, I'm reading constantly. I can't get enough of it. He's like, you're on to the next book before you finish the first one. I'm like, whatever. But what was happening to me, Margaret, was so weird and so confusing. The more I learned, the more I studied. So I took my own experiences, wrote about that. Then the more I learned and the more I studied, I was feeling worse and worse about myself. My confidence was dropping. My happiness level was dropping. My circumstances were optimal. And this is what was so messed up about it, that if you looked at the me on paper, you would think, wow, she's got an amazing life. Well, what the heck was going on with me that I could have circumstances around me that were good, that many people would wish for, but I'm feeling so empty, so not enough. It was awful, borderline debilitating. So, and I couldn't understand it. So I don't know, by the grace of God, the universe, Mother Nature, or maybe just a well-timed Facebook ad, I came across this guy named Woah, who is the founder of Preside Life Meditation. And I subscribed to this like 7-day audio program, or it was about recovering lost parts of yourself or that inner critic. I'm like, I've got the inner critic big time, and I could use some help. And what I learned from him in a week, Margaret, was absolutely profound. What was happening with me? And I went back and did a little digging, and I talk about this at length in my next book, to what is that negative voice saying about me, and what memory from my childhood of what was said to me could be this. So it's like really going in. I mean, the most powerful answers we get, this, come from inside when we get quiet, not from picking up a book or asking somebody else for advice. And that can be good too. But our strongest wisdom comes from within. And what I found, I pulled up a memory, and I remember it happening multiple times and my mom is awesome. Let me preface this by saying, loving, amazing mom. I went to her as a child sobbing for something. I don't remember what it was. And I went to her trying to complain or whatever it was I was trying to say. And she just looked at me firmly and said, turn it off. Turn it off before you talk to me. And it happened a couple times. Well, what I discovered was I had learned that sadness was not acceptable. And I will not be heard in this life if I allow sadness a place in my life. So if you look at the path of my career, it's almost so obvious in retrospect. Oh my God, happiness, everything, choose happy. Everything's about happiness, because I was denying that sadness was a valid aspect of myself. And I learned this through Artie. So what you do is you go in and you find these parts of yourself that you deem as unacceptable, not good enough. It's that whatever your inner voice is saying to you is probably the source of it. And you go in and you heal that and say, well, wait a minute. This is a valid aspect of me. This brilliance that created me made me amazing, made me perfect. What if I allow space for sadness in my life? So I started doing that. I started saying, okay, sadness is a valid emotion. Stop fighting it. Allow it to come up. Allow it to be there. And it was so incredible, Margaret. I was using so much energy to deny sadness that it was sucking up my happiness. It was like, of course, I'm never going to be enough if I'm denying a valid aspect of myself. Right.
Right.
So I learned through him to integrate that. Like, think of it like you have a board of directors. There's many aspects of you. And maybe you have a creative you, or you have the logical you, or you have the sad you, or the happy you, or the scared you. They're all parts of your board of directors, and they're all there to help you succeed. But if you tell one they're fired, they're going to be angry. They're not going to be able to help you, but allow them space. And so what I started doing was saying, well, I'm not afraid of sadness so much. How do I allow it to show up? And now I'm always the one taking the conversation in a positive direction or pointing out the bright side. But I think that also left me a little bit unavailable. And here's what I mean by that. If a friend came to me and they were sad about something, I'd be like, snap my fingers, quick, how can I make you feel better? But now I take a breath and I meet them there. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, I will sit with you in your sadness for a bit. I'm not afraid of it. I'll be there with you. And then more softly, let's talk about where we go from here. Everything that I do, I feel like I'm showing up more powerfully because I'm showing up whole.
Yeah, I love that. I think that there's a lot of us who are conditioned to not feel certain things, or if we show it or feel it, we're weak. And when we don't actually allow our emotions if we don't feel the emotions that are coming through and feel them fully, and that's scary for people, right?
Yes, because they don't feel good.
Right. I don't really want to cry, or I'm grieving over something, but no, I'm going to be strong and I'm just going to hold it all in. When allowing tears to flow and feelings to come up, whether it's sadness, grief, anger, to just allow it to flow through the body. So what did you find yourself doing? Like crying when you felt sad about something, like allowing yourself to go there?
Yeah, even like I would catch myself even watching a movie and there'd be a sad part. I'd be like fighting it back. I'm like, why am I even fighting it back?
Right.
Let it go. Allow it. And it's so amazing. I was giving so much power to it by resisting it. And that's the way with most negative emotions. Like, so we have two things going on, right? We have this anger or fear or sadness, whatever the negative emotion is, which doesn't feel good. And then we have our judgment of it. So our judgment says, I shouldn't be feeling it. I've learned law of attraction. I shouldn't be feeling it. So then you have the bad emotion and you have the resistance to it, which then amplifies it. When if we can trust to allow that emotion, even if it's negative, to have it, don't stay there forever, but allow it its space, allow it to flow through you. Otherwise it bottles up. It makes us sick. It really does.
It does. It actually can cause illness in our bodies.
100%. And I also believe that it is probably negative emotions, particularly bottled up negative emotions and thoughts, are probably the primary source of illnesses. I believe that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, oh my God, this is so good. So we've just seen your whole evolution of what had happened. Now, when you were married, were you completely content and happy? Initially,
content,
your first marriage.
I would say probably content. I wouldn't, in retrospect, call it happy. The first marriage we're talking about,
right?
It was comfortable and safe and familiar. And I think, and this isn't something else I've learned, that we're conditioned to. Okay, you date and then you move in, or in what order, and then you get married. Like, it's the natural progression. And I think sometimes we take it to the next level just because that's what we're learned to do, and it's not necessarily the right person to do that with. Like, I'm not here to criticize him. I don't want to hurt him in any way, but he never showed me affection. Everything was always about what he wanted, and I accept the part that I played to create that. So it wasn't a joyful, loving, happy relationship. It was a safe, comfortable, familiar one. And that was something that I learned, that, okay, I was forced into this. And maybe, you know what, in retrospect, had that not happened, maybe there would have come a time that it would have been like, wait a minute, I want more than this. So the second time around, it was like, okay, what do I want? And I would literally, Margaret, hold my hands out, cut my hands out together in front of me and say to my friends, my whole world is in my hands now. I get to decide what I want now. Like, I remember it was very much, it feels like a whole nother life.
Right.
And I think when we go through difficult times, if we can get off of the why me's and why did this happen to me, and onto, okay, now what? What's next? What do I really want?
Which for some people could be so scary, yet I see it as, oh my God, like there are a million possibilities now that are sort of open. I mean, you never thought back then that you would have your own wine.
No.
Were you a writer back then too?
I've always had a knack for communicating. Even when I was younger, I can remember writing papers in school and they were like, wow, this is amazing. And I've done public speaking, a fair amount of that. It's a knack for taking what's in my heart and in my head and communicating that with other people in a way that reaches them. And whether it comes in speaking or through the radio or talking with you or in writing.
Wow.
I think
But
it's just a natural talent, I think.
you didn't
Yeah.
have, though you didn't have a blog or a website at the time. Were you doing
I,
anything?
I started a blog. I was blogging for a while under askhappybitch.com. It might still be up. I haven't posted anything there in a long time. I think that started before the book.
Right. No, but even before all of Happy Bitch even happened, like the reason why it was born was because of what happened to you.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I hadn't done anything before that. It was just, it was a calling. It was almost like I couldn't not do it. I knew
Yeah.
I needed to write this book,
Right.
and I needed to share my story and to do it in a way. I mean, there's many books on happiness, and they're all could be fabulous, but nobody can ever write a book like you can. And I also am a firm believer that every one of us has a book in us, and we should write it.
Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure. I definitely do.
And you don't need, and it was funny, one of the first questions people would ask me when I was telling them I was writing a book or I'd written a book, like, oh, did you study English? I'm like, screw that, no. But if you have a message to share and you can talk, you can write a book.
Right.
That's all. I mean,
Exactly.
I had an editor, of course, to, and not everything in it is perfect English. I didn't want it to be. There was times she'd say, okay, this is not accurate. I'm like, okay, thank you for your input. That's how I would say it. So we're leaving it.
And how did you guys meet? Did you start dating online or like, was that very organic or how did you?
It was funny. I was involved in the local chamber of commerce.
Oh, wait, I meant your second marriage.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So I was
Okay.
involved in the chamber of commerce locally, and I kept running into him. He was a financial advisor. I kept running into him at events, and he'd sit at my table, and I'm like, and then he invited me he was hosting an event for the company he worked for. And it was like at the culinary and some wine seminar or something. We sat next to each other and had a great time. And I remember going into work the next day after that and saying to my girlfriend, I said, you know what? I think this guy is into me. I said, but I think he's younger than me. My girlfriend goes, girl, you stop overanalyzing it. You don't have to marry the guy. Like that. Yeah, true. So
All right.
here we are. So anyway, I don't remember which one of us initiated. It was like the safe group thing. Oh, a bunch of us are going out for a drink after work. You want to catch up,
Right.
so it's not like a one-on-one date. It was a real chicken date. So
Right.
we talked and had a great time, and everybody was kind of wrapping up, and he asked me to dinner, and we had a fabulous time. And I remember calling my mother the next day. I'm like, Mom, I found the guy for me. She
My
goes, how do you know?
gosh.
He hates lima beans. We found that out. I'm like, he hates lima beans. He's the guy for me. But yeah, it was an instant click. And then, so quick funny story here. We're dating for a while. I'm starting to get really attached to him. And he says to me, there's something I gotta tell you. I'm like, oh God, I knew this was too good to be true.
Oh no. Uh-huh.
So he's like putzing around. He's like stalling. I'm like, what? What is it? What do you have to tell me? He goes, I lied to you about my age. So when we were out having a drinks, I'm like, so I think, how old are you? And I guess, whatever number it was. He goes, no. And I went younger. And he said, no. And I went younger. And he said, no. And we got to like one more. And he's like, yeah. And he nodded his head. So I'm like, what do you mean you lied about your age? He goes, I'm 1 year younger than I said. I'm like, why? He said, because I could tell by the look on your face you weren't going to go to dinner with me if I went 1 year younger. I'm like, you're probably right, but don't lie to me again.
Oh gosh. So
Yeah, so it's funny. You have these lists of what you want, the qualities. Maybe someone's listening right now who's looking for that love or that next relationship, and that can be a painful place to be in as well. So know what you want, but also be open. Well, my initial reaction was, oh, this guy's younger than me. But, well, what if I had that as my criteria and wasn't open to it? I would be missing out on this.
mm-hmm. Exactly.
So know what you want and know what you're not going to sacrifice. I think that's more of a character thing. I think what you won't sacrifice on should be more character than,
exactly.
I want dark hair or I want somebody who makes money. He wasn't making a pot to piss in when I met him. And but it didn't matter. So go for the
Right.
character and have an open mind.
Yeah, I agree because there's, I think it's like they need to be 6 foot tall and taller. I mean, oh,
Right.
I hate short guys. I have a lot of friends
Right.
that are like, I hate short guys. And
Right.
that doesn't, I don't care. Like I'll date
Yep.
short or tall.
Me too.
It doesn't matter one bit. If the guy treats me like gold
Yeah.
and is just not only respectful, but also cherishing he's the guy. And it doesn't matter. I don't care if you're 5'6" or 6'6".
Right. Yeah. You make me laugh. You treat me well. You make me feel good. I, you know, that's my criteria.
Yeah. Well, this is so good. Okay, so any last things before we wrap up?
Yeah, I just want your listeners to know that if they want to get a free copy of the introduction to my book,
Oh,
they can text the word happier to 22828. So it's the word happier to 22828. You can get a copy of the free introduction. The book is available on Amazon. Just search Happy Bitch and you'll find it. And by texting happier to 22828, you'll also get on my mailing list, and then I can notify you when my next book comes out. So, and also Instagram. I love doing Instagram now. It's just my name, Keryl Pesce, KerylPesce, taking pretty pictures and images and colors and quotes and sending stuff out that helps you feel better about yourself and your life.
oh, I got to follow you on Instagram. I'm on Instagram too.
Oh, good.
Okay, so your book, and then is there a website?
Yeah, it's my name, KerylPesce.com.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, great. And do we know the title of the book yet? No, right?
Oh, it'll be Happy Bitch. It'll just have a different subhead.
Oh,
So it'll
okay.
be Happy Bitch Book 2, similar logo. And at the moment, my working subhead is The Smart Woman's Guide to Letting Go of Doubt and Regret and Unleashing the Confident, Powerful You Inside.
Oh, yeah. That's
Because
good.
honestly, all these things, and this is what was so confusing to me, like the practicing gratitude and kindness and focusing on the positive, all things I was practicing, and I still wasn't feeling good. Because if you're not confident in who you are, Margaret, all the other stuff is like fluff. It's you got to feel good about who you are. You got to have that confidence in yourself, and that's what
Mm-hmm.
this book is intended to do. And then all the other stuff is like icing on the amazing cake.
Exactly. Now, what was that text number? 22828?
Text, yep, happier to 22828.
Okay, I'll put that. So all this is going to be in the show notes with your book and the Amazon link and all of that. Wow. So, and it's coming out this summer or next summer?
This summer, I'm hoping.
Oh,
That's
okay.
my goal.
That's coming out. That's coming out.
Yep.
All right. So I have 3 last questions that I ask all of my guests. First
You bet.
one is, what's currently at your bedside right now?
Currently at my bedside, night table,
Mm-hmm.
a alarm clock that I actually put a mask over at night so I don't see the numbers,
Okay.
and a place to keep a glass of water. I drink water all night.
Okay. What do you wear to bed?
Usually a t-shirt and sleep shorts.
Okay. And do you have a favorite? What's your most favorite indulgence?
Um,
The thing that you just, is it like chocolate? Is it like shoes? Is it, I don't know.
Gosh, I have 2. I would say it's reading, like quiet time and reading a really great book is just joy in my life. Like curling, okay, we'll pick that. Curling up with my amazing little pup with a blanket, reading a really good book. And then my second runner-up would be a really good glass of wine.
I was going to say. Do you have like a full shelf of your wines in your house?
We actually have a pretty decent sized wine cellar, and we have a couple of racks. We have 3 different varietals under the Happy Bitch brand. So, yeah.
Where do you, oh, okay. Are you in the US?
Yeah, I'm in New York State,
Oh, okay.
Hudson Valley.
Oh, you're
We're
in
actually
Hudson
not
Valley.
too far from each other.
No, we're not. I may need to. I'm actually, are you in Hudson? Are you near Hudson, the town of
I'm
Hudson?
Dutchess County.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, if I ever make my way up in that area, I'll certainly reach out to you. I'd love to share a glass of wine with you. That would be amazing.
Yes. Yeah, we'll do that. We'll definitely do that. If you're on the close to the Connecticut border, so you're Danbury or closer to New York?
Yeah, I'm in Fairfield County.
Okay, we're not far at all. We'll do something.
We should, definitely. Well, thank you, Keryl. I love this conversation.
Oh, me too, Margaret.
For all of you listening, get the book. And I can't wait for your next book to come out. And we're going to have all the show notes ready for you so people can find you and learn more about you. And I'm interested in tasting your wine as well.
Fabulous. Well, Margaret, thank you again so much for having me, for all that you do and trying to empower women and help them step into their own feminine power. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. So thank you for letting me be part of that.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Well, I hope you love this episode with Keryl. To learn more about her and also for all the show notes and maybe to pick up some of her wine or buy some of those really cool wine glasses, head on over to margaretromero.com/episode 35. And if you've been loving these episodes, I would love it if you can head on over to iTunes, subscribe, and leave a 5-star review. That would so warm my heart. Have the most beautiful week, ladies, and I'll see you then. Love to you all.